Well, it is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the Managing Holiday Stress brief webinar we've put together. So it is the holiday season, and sometimes things can be a little stressful, and that doesn't even take into account, COVID and all that's going on in the world. So instead of letting us kind of get this stressed, overwhelmed feeling, kind of experiencing dread, we really want to try to find a couple ways to help us prevent that. So I've got 10 quick steps that I'm going to go through that might be helpful for you as you journey through this holiday season, whatever that looks like for you. And hopefully these different steps will help to prevent some of that holiday stress. So firstly, I want to say the first step really is acknowledging your feelings. It is absolutely okay to take time. It's okay to go up to your room and cry for a little bit, and it's okay to go out and walk and just kind of acknowledge that you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Just because it's a holiday, just because you may have some responsibilities associated with that holiday, does not mean that your feelings are not important, does not mean that they are not relevant. So we really want to make sure we're paying attention to those emotions and those feelings and not brushing them off to the side. If you are feeling lonely, maybe you're feeling isolated during this time of COVID and not having the ability to hang out with your family during the holidays, really seek out some of those different things, whether that's using technology like we're using today, or even old-fashioned letters, phone calls, all sorts of things to kind of maintain some of that social interaction as well. So that leads me right into the next one. Kind of did that without even meaning to, is that next tip is really reaching out to those family members, those friends, whoever your loved ones are, making sure that you're feeling connected to them. Just because we may not be able to see them this year doesn't mean we can't still feel that love and support from them. So you really want to find some ways to celebrate together. Some cool ideas I've run across have been sharing those family pictures with each other, or telling funny stories with one another that you about family members or things like that. Just really keeping that conversation going. The next step is really to be realistic. The holidays don't have to be perfect, and really, if we're being honest with ourselves, they never are perfect. There's always something that happens. So being realistic and knowing that is okay as well. This year is going to be different with COVID. We're going to have to kind of tweak some of our resolutions, tweak some of our plans we were going to do, even, tweak the things that we do together as a family. So really just be realistic about what you can do and what you can't do. And again, acknowledging those emotions and those feelings around the things that you're not able to do this year. So it is an election year. The election is tomorrow, actually. So something we want to think about are setting aside those differences. We don't all agree when we're around the table. We don't all agree within our families. So setting aside some of those differences to try to just respect our family and friends for who they are, and just let some of those disagreements go. It doesn't always have to be politics. It can be other disagreements that we have. Really setting those aside and having a private conversation rather than a public haranguing of each other would be beneficial as well. Also remember that just because we have our differences doesn't mean we don't have our feelings and emotions as well. So especially during this holiday season, try to be understanding of others' emotions and respectful of their need to cope as well. We're at number 5, and this is a big one for a lot of us. That causes a lot of stress sometimes, is sticking to that budget. So a lot of times we want to get the best gifts we can for the loved ones that we have. So sometimes that means spending a little bit more than we had planned, or maybe we haven't planned how much we're going to be spending with them. So just try to stick to a budget. If you don't have a budget, really work on developing one before you're going for all those holiday shopping, so that you don't get to the place where you are stressed and overwhelmed because of your financial status. Sometimes though, it's easy to think that we want to just shower everyone we love with gifts or tangible items, but there's also those experiences that we really enjoy getting as gifts. Even making gifts, having homemade gifts, as well as, just showing that love that you've put into it, especially when we've been at home for so long in quarantine, or during COVID. There's lots of different things we can do to show that we love and appreciate those that we're giving these gifts to. So speaking of giving gifts, it's really important to plan ahead. So before you are going to go and do your shopping, really make sure you're planning ahead. Make sure you have that list of what you need. Really have specific days for what you need to do. I have some family members that like bake cookies for several days, and they have this really regimented schedule that on this day they make sugar cookies, and on this day they make some other kind of cookie, and it's really specific. So try to do that for even your day-to-day life as well. And make sure you're including those things that you do all the time throughout the year and not really losing those things to the holidays. If you are exercising, if you're reading some kind of book every day, don't forget to include those in your routine because they're just as important as all of the holiday responsibilities you may have. Make sure you plan to get those things that you might forget. It never fails that every year there's some condiment missing at the dinner table because we just forgot to purchase it. So even plan for the little things and make sure you plan for someone to help you clean up. After we all have our big meals, we like to just disperse and do whatever we're doing, and sometimes people get stuck doing the dishes. So really, if that's you every year and you don't want it to be you every year, maybe plan for some ways you can do that differently this year. Speaking of planning to do things differently, number 7 is to learn to say no. Saying yes when you want to say no can leave us feeling really resentful. It can leave us feeling overwhelmed. And that's okay if that's what you really want to do. But if it is not something you want to do, really work on saying no. People will understand if you can't go to every event, if you can't participate in every gift-giving activity. I know with me, we have a work activity, and then I have a friend's activity, and then I have a family activity, and that's a lot. So try to balance that and be okay with saying no to things that you don't want to do or that you just don't have the time to do. Number 8 is something I kind of touched on earlier, but don't forget or abandon your healthy habits. A lot of times the holidays become one long cheat day. When we think about when the holidays start, sometimes that cheat day ends up being 2 months. So really being mindful of what you're consuming and how that's affecting your body. When we overindulge on sugar or fats or the different foods throughout the holidays, that adds a lot of stress to our bodies, and it also can sometimes leave us feeling guilty and stressed because, oh, we wrecked our diet or something like that. So just be mindful of what you're eating. It's okay to have some desserts during your holiday dinner. Just maybe don't snack on the pie all day long. Just being mindful of that. Making sure you're getting plenty of sleep. I don't know about you, but when I am tired, I get really angry and grumpy, and I'm no fun to be around. So making sure I get enough sleep is really important for me. And it's also important for your emotions and your mental health throughout the holiday as well. Incorporate that physical activity, even if it's just going for a walk around the house outside, get some fresh air, get out from being cooped up in the winter. Enjoying that sunlight when there is the very little sunlight we have during the winter in Indiana. So really incorporating that physical activity is going to help with our mental health and our mood as well. Another tip is when you know you're going to be going to a holiday event or a holiday party, no matter what that looks like with COVID, there's going to be snacks. I'm just sure of it. Making sure to have a healthy snack before you go. So maybe have a few little blocks of cheese or having some vegetables before you go so you're not hungry and the first thing you see is that wonderful smorgasbord of holiday desserts. So trying to incorporate that as an activity to help you kind of prevent overeating is a good idea. Same with drinking lots of water. A lot of times humans will eat when they're actually just thirsty, so having some water around you a lot, or drinking water before your meal or before you're heading to those holiday party events is another tip as well. Just 2 more tips and tricks here. The number 9 is to take a breather. Really just make sure you're taking time for yourself, whether you are a single adult or a person who has lots of children or a person taking care of their parent, whatever that looks like for you, it's really important to take time for yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, where you can walk and breathe and just be by yourself and make sure you're doing okay as well. You may find yourself having a lot of stress, a lot of distractions, and you're not able to focus on yourself. So try to find something that reduces that stress, whether it's walking or listening to music or getting massage, reading a book. There's lots of options. Whatever works for you is really the best answer for that. And the last tip I have for you is to seek professional help if you need it. Despite all of your best efforts, despite doing all of these tips and tricks that I've shared with you today, you might find yourself experiencing high levels of sadness or anxiety. You may even experience some physical complaints like difficulty sleeping or feeling pain all over. Lots of different physical complaints can be associated with our mental health. You may find yourself unable to complete those routines, not really wanting to get out of bed, all of those things. If any of these feelings continue to happen throughout the holiday season, or even just in winter in general, these are definitely something you should talk to a healthcare provider about, or a mental health provider. There's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in talking about it. So if this is something that you're experiencing, it tends to happen every year during the holidays. These are definitely things you'll want to consider. And seeking professional help is a good place to start with that. So those are the 10 tips I have for you for managing your holiday stress. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me at my email address or call the Purdue Extension office, and we are happy to talk more with you about how to manage some of that holiday stress. Thank you.